Hi, everyone, and welcome to what could be a series here. Uh, I will tell you, zero intention of starting a podcast, but then stuff happens, right? So here we are. It's Delpha D, and joining me today is Naomi. Naomi, would you tell folks what you do and how awesome you are? And then we're going to get into the conversation we were just having.
Thank you. I am Naomi Rafalowitz. I am an empowerment and self-worth coach. I love helping people. I love helping women get out of the muck and know who they are, like really truly know who they are. It all started with me figuring out who I was. That's where it all started, and it just bloomed from there.
Delpha Giacomo. I work in corporate America, and I'm just so interested in conversations with really interesting people. And Naomi and I always have good conversations.
We always do, every
And
single
I
time.
every single time. And I just
Yep.
thought, you know what? We just started rambling off in a random call. And I said, we're just gonna record it and put it out in the universe. So here we are doing just that. So this will be conversations with Delpha and Naomi going forward. And as we decide to ramble on, we're gonna share with the world. So
I know,
Naomi,
I know. That's always how it happens, right? So one of my core values is communication. Delpha knows that.
yes.
But another value that I really try to bring to my life is like make it easy and let it flow, right? And every time we talk, I have no idea where the conversation is going, right, Delpha?
That's
And
right.
we talk about these profound like things that sometimes move me to tears, which is what just happened earlier. And I love that we're recording this and sharing it.
we
It's
always
so
talk
good.
about we always talk about recording our conversations and we never do it. So I just thought hit the freaking button. And
Today is a
maybe
day.
today's the day where we just hit the button and we had no intention of doing this. Again,
No
people is
attention.
it'll be raw, uncut, it'll be authentic. And if you hear us, join us.
I
So
know. I know.
So Naomi and I were having a conversation, and Naomi did not know about this poor person that passed away. I believe it was a woman, passed away at her desk and was not found for 3 days. And my thought on that was, I mean, I work in corporate and I know the rat race and I know the in office, out of office, everybody has opinions on it. But the reality of it is that it's more than just a philosophy. This woman was at her desk. Nobody found her for 3 days. I don't know if it was the weekend. You guys can let us know in the chat what the heck happened there. But the reality for me is it isn't just about nobody found her at work.
Hmm.
What about the connections she didn't have in
Right.
her regular life that
Hmm.
caused her not to have somebody checking in on her
Yeah.
for 3 days? Is
Hmm.
that who we are now? Is that the world we're living in? Like, what do you think, Naomi?
Oh my gosh, when you shared this to me just now, I just teared up. My heart was breaking. I cannot imagine being so, whether it's isolated or consumed with survival or work, and that having happened, it made me so I live on my own, sharing that with the world. And I remember many years ago, maybe 15 or 20 years ago, when I was teaching, this whole thing happened where I left a message. I was teaching full time. I left a message and said, "Oh my gosh, my car's not starting. I need to borrow my father's, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I'll be in 2 hours. I'll be in 2 hours late." Nobody checked the voicemail. Do you know? It was one of the best days of my life because my coworkers, when I didn't show up, actually had the police sent to my house. They sent the police to my house to do a well check because they said, "Wait a minute, this doesn't happen." I didn't know. I wasn't there. One of my other neighbors, long story short, called me and said, "Oh, there's a policeman at your house." I was like, "What the heck?" It made me go right back to that moment where people know me. People checked in. I had a network that understood, like, I don't just not show up for work. What happened? What happened where no one checked in with this woman, this poor woman who I'm thinking about like so much now, right, Delpha? Like there are people,
Yeah.
you said it before, that check in on you every single day. There are people that I check in on and check in on me. How did we get so fractured? So fractured that
And
something like this can happen in an office, a big office in New York City, you said
yeah,
maybe?
I believe it was. I'm gonna look it up in a second, and I don't want to misquote anybody. But
How
so
did that?
here's where I'm at with this.
Mm, can't,
We spend so much time trying to be seen,
mm-hmm.
and I can only imagine this person was trying to be seen in the environment that she felt most comfortable with at work, and she was
Yeah,
still not seen.
no.
And that is, I think, the sad part of it. And I do not know the person, but for
Mm,
me, my thought is, so nobody saw her, quote unquote, doing air quotes, nobody saw her. She remained unseen in the office for 3 days. How long has she been unseen for?
mm-hmm.
Who has made sure that she knew her worth? Did she know her worth? So
Mm-hmm.
much so that maybe she didn't even need to go into the office that day. Like
Yeah.
I just have so many questions around like it, it's more than just I hear a lot of people talking about this from the concept of, well, this is about return to office and this is what happens if you return to office. That's not what that's about. What
No.
is that is an office that did not see her as a human being. Not because they didn't care, but because everybody was running the rat race worried about themselves. And nobody lifted their heads up to look around and support each other in a space that's supposed to be a community. Because
Mm-hmm.
work is community. And part of the reason why employers want people to go back to work is to rebuild the community that we lost during COVID. Now, some folks are not built for that. That's fine. But it's also, there's another end to it. And that's the other end where you
Right.
say you're rebuilding community, but were you really? Were you really? And that's about the people in the place. That it's not
Mm-hmm.
a company. A company is not a person. A company is
Right.
composed of people.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
she was clearly not seen even before this happened. And then it was very physically evident at the end of her life. And that's terrible.
It is, it is
In a in a
scary too.
cubicle. I worked in a
Right.
cubicle. You're
Mm-hmm.
seen in a cubicle. There's no way
Yeah.
you don't see you, but here we
Yeah.
are. And that's the news.
And I don't know, I mean, clearly we are still living through the effects of COVID. But a lot of this was happening before COVID. I mean, you know, I came from a teaching environment, which way back was a closed door kind of thing. I'm talking about the early 80s. But it evolved where we were completely interconnected. I mean, you think about it. But I always wondered, like, this interconnectedness, it's true of everything. I mean, I never worked in the corporate world, but how can I do what I do without interconnectedness with other people? I mean, there's an overarching goal, and how can we be our best selves without other people, right? So this you know, fractured keeps coming to me, like broken. Something has broken because I'm sure the people that worked in her office, I'm going to make assumptions, are loving, caring people. But what has happened? How do we get back to that? Like, I'm not meant to do it alone. None of us are meant to do it alone.
Yeah, so quick correction, it was in Arizona, not New
Okay.
York. Um, doesn't matter where it happened, really.
Right.
It
Right.
happened.
Mm-hmm.
Um, now I love what you just said around like the connectiveness and yes, I can imagine everybody in that office is a loving, caring person. It's a
Yeah.
mother, father, sister. All of those things are true of all of the people there. And I'm sure everybody's
Hmm.
mortified about the situation because it's a situation. And yet, I can tell you that one of the things that happens is that we forget ourselves when we open the quote unquote doors to work. And a
Hmm.
lot of people, including myself in the past, become somebody else when they walk
Yeah,
through the doors,
absolutely.
and then they leave and they return to their authentic self. But
Yeah.
I think the opportunity there is just come in real authentic and
Hmm.
be yourself and be the human that you are, and
Hmm.
don't lose
Hmm.
that because you're walking into a place of work and it requires you to be competitive, or requires whatever it is to fit into the culture.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was the same in my career. I was teacher Naomi, I was team leader Naomi, I was blah, blah, blah Naomi in my teaching career. And in my younger days, I did not bring my core self. I mean, for sure. But there was a point where, with the help of other people, always, right? People that were role models for me, I saw them bring their authenticity. I didn't know what it was exactly happening. I saw them be brave enough to bring their own self in and know when to limit or not or whatever. But you're right. Like I had this visual as you were talking about like having some kind of object or totem, or something, I don't know what, with you all the time. Like for me, sometimes it's my necklace. Often
Yeah.
it's my necklace. Like, I have this necklace that I wear all the time with different charms and things that remind me of who I am at my core. And it's always with me. But how can we help each other bring our authentic selves with us wherever we go? And then put on the cloak of the profession or the role that we're doing, right? Like intertwine them.
Well, I love
It's
what you
not
said there.
easy.
It's just putting on a cloak, but it's not a cloak that hides you.
Right.
So very much like a business suit, right? You put your jacket
Yeah.
on. I like that. I like
Yeah.
that. You put your jacket on. You're still in there. You're still
Still you.
yourself. You still have to show up. Your face is still out there. So why are you hiding behind it? Versus putting on a cloak with a hood where nobody can
Mm-hmm.
really see
And a
you until you get
mask.
out. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So whether it's that show your goofy side or show your analytical side or show your like whatever, like bring it with you. Don't forget every day, but have something to remind me to bring that it's still me, whatever
Yeah.
I'm doing. Like how do we continue and make sure that that doesn't happen again? What happened in that office space? That nobody was there, nobody was checking because they were so, I don't know, worried, busy, fearful, uh, stressed, you know?
That's not
We
who we are as people.
we
It's
have,
just
yeah.
not. It's not. And I think we keep forgetting some of that
Mm-hmm.
when you're working. It doesn't matter where you work, because like you said, you were
Right.
a teacher. The last thing I would have thought, I come from a family of teachers, but the last thing I would have thought is that their identity changes in the classroom. And I'm gonna have to think
Oh,
about
yeah.
that a little bit, because it is true. It's probably very true. And so it's not just corporate.
No, it's not. But having I guess letting go of the fear of being who you are. I mean, I always thought that that was just a matter of maturity, right? Like as a young teacher, I was afraid to be myself or be really goofy or this or that. I like wanted to do everything correctly. And then as I matured, like more and more of me, like obviously showed up. But it didn't happen. I can look back and think it doesn't just happen by accident. maybe there was something in me, but there were role models around me, or there was a desire to do that. But you know, we have, like, we all want this, right? We all want to bring our authenticity. We all want to know who we are. We don't want to lose ourselves. So how do we do it in the corporate space, in the classroom, anywhere?
Anywhere.
So
And
that,
you talked about bravery,
yeah.
and I think your words were, you're brave enough to bring your whole self to work. But why does it require bravery?
Oh, because, I'll speak for myself. People are going to think I'm too goofy. Judgment. Like, oh my gosh, people are going to judge me. I'm that silly one, or I'm that this one, or I'm that one. I mean, we all have an inner judge, judge of self, judge of others, judge of situation. Ooh, the judge can be screaming loud. And just recognizing it, right? I think that's why we don't. And sometimes it's more, it's like I need to do this in my, at my job, or I need to show this many numbers or this or that. But why can't we bring ourselves? Like, I'm smart enough and you're smart enough to know which part I maybe want to leave home today, right? And which
Yeah.
part I want to bring in. We know. We just have to be brave and reach out and support each other.
I think it's more than bravery. I don't disagree that there's a component of risk taking that
Mm-hmm.
it takes to show up the first time that way. And I will use myself as the example here, because I can tell you, my one of my past employers, I have very curly hair. I'm Hispanic. If you haven't met me, I'm Hispanic. I have very curly hair. And I showed up to work consistently with bone straight hair. I
Mm.
thought it was more polished, and this is not like a like DIEB like conversation at all. For me, it wasn't the I'm trying to pass. It wasn't that linear. It was more about this culture in the office requires me to look a certain way and fit in a certain way. And I used to be proud of the story of me going to this Talbot store and telling the lady, listen, I just promoted to like an executive role and I need to look the part and I don't know what that looks like. And I showed up in jeans, a t-shirt and a baseball cap, and she like pretty woman me, right? And that's kind of, it was like a fun story I would tell because it happened to me. But now she pretty woman me just made me compliant to
Mm.
their expectations and not what I would want to wear or who I was, or provided me a space for self-expression.
Wow.
And I got a bunch of limiting feedback on, well, you should be mindful of, and you should think about this. Well, that's all great and good, but in the end, it just stifled who I was. And eventually I had to leave because I couldn't be myself at all. At all. The expectation
Mm.
was ridiculous. And I don't use that word lightly. For me, it was ridiculous, and it was either me or the place, and I chose me. I'm very happy to have done that. But back to the original story, one day I was going to go to an event and I washed my hair. I did not have enough time to straighten it, and I never wore it curly. And I walked into the office with curly hair to a large event with over 200 people,
Mm.
and everybody just said, "Oh my gosh, your hair looks great. I had no idea you had curly hair." You had all kinds of compliments. Did it take
Yeah.
bravery? Sure. Was it also circumstantial because I just didn't have time to do my hair?
Hmm.
Sure. But at the same time, it gave me the confidence. But then, and I will say, I had somebody say to me, and I took offense to it. And I'll be honest, I took offense to it. This person said to me, "See, you don't have to pass anymore. You can just be you." Well, am I not still me with the straight hair? Am I more me with the curly hair? Why does one thing have to be weighed in against the other? Again, I don't look at that as a DIEB issue. I
Hmm.
look at it as, how comfortable was I in that culture? to be both the Delpha that wears straight hair and the Delpha that wears the curly hair, and the
Mm-hmm.
Delpha that will wear the big ethnic earrings versus the Delpha that will wear the dainty earrings or not. And maybe today I feel like really corporate, I want to wear a suit, and tomorrow I do not. And
Mm-hmm.
all of that is okay because, to your point, I am there for my brain and what I bring to the table and my leadership style. Isn't
Mm-hmm.
that enough?
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. Now you were talking about um this, what happened with this hiker? What happened?
Oh, I don't remember the details of the story now. It was on all the news reports. Wait, before I tell that, like when you said the words, I had to write it down, providing a space for self-expression.
Yeah.
I went, like, oh my God, I need to write it down because if you know me, that's like me. You're like, well, hold
Yes.
on. So that's what it's about, right? Like maybe that's step one. I'm going to provide a space for my own self-expression. I'm going to hopefully invite my culture, my business, my family, my friends to allow me to provide a space, and I want to provide a space for others' self-expression. Like, that's it, Delpha. Like that's the
Yeah.
quote, right? Um, and you did that. And what that statement that somebody said to you that you took offense to, I hear it, and I hear the other side of like, did like I'm always curious, like what made that person say that thing, say that statement to you, like, from the outside. Was it like I want to provide you a space for self-expression, and it comes out because a lot of times things will come out. I'm
Yeah.
going to use the word wrong, like, oh, what? Like I'm already me. But we don't know, I think as humans, and we don't always say it the right way. And so like I want to see what happens when I say something that doesn't land the way I meant it to land too. Like, wait, okay. Do you know what I mean? Like that's
Yes.
the part of like us figuring it out. But absolutely, I was like, what? Wait, I'm me, whatever. Um, the it was in the news. There was a team building experience. I don't remember where it was or what mountain they went up. There was a team that went up a mountain. Luckily, everybody was okay, but one of the members, I want to say it was in the Northeast, but I can't remember, was slower and wanted to go to the summit, and everyone else had already gone to the summit. So they said, yeah, just go up here. They let this person, a man, I think, I'm almost positive, go up to the summit by himself. And then they went down. They didn't wait for him. He got lost. Thank God thank goodness he had his phone, and he had before anyway, his phone died, and he was texting people in this team building exercise. I think I'm lost. I don't know why. And they said, do this, do that. But nobody was there with him. Anyway, they left. He was there overnight. He did get rescuers to come and help him, and they rescued him and brought him down. And the rescuer said something like, I don't remember the exact quote, but I wonder what things are going to be like in the office tomorrow after this team building
Yes.
exercise, right? And I'm thinking, I've hiked with people before. You, it's like the most basic thing. Like you don't let somebody summit by themselves, and they did. And again, I don't want to have like the value judgment that sounds like it's already happening. Like, I can't believe you let this happen, but how is it that that this happens? Like, what's fractured, you
Yeah.
know?
Something's wrong. I will say, and this is, I'm absolutely biased on this. I hate that it was team building exercise. I'm
Mhm.
sorry. I understand the concept of team building. I have ideas about how it should work. Um, but
Mhm.
not everybody's built equally. And
Right.
hiking is not an equal opportunity activity.
Oh my gosh, no, absolutely not. This was
So
kind of a big mountain somewhere. I mean, it wasn't a hill.
yeah.
It wasn't a
So
walk around. Anyway,
if you guys can't tell yet, I'm the judgy one. Naomi is not the judgy one.
oh, I try to, I'm trying. This is my work in progress. Yeah, of course I was judgy. I mean, when I listened to the report, I was like, are you kidding me? They let this person summit because I immediately thought that would be me. Like, wait, I just want to go up to the top, but I don't want to be left behind. Like,
Yeah.
right? And my assumption would have always been two of you are going to be waiting for me down here, right? When I go up to or come with me. But do I have to ask? I mean, maybe we do. We have to ask. Like, I don't want to do this alone. Uh, I want
Uh,
someone to come with me, whether it's team building or friendship or whatever. Like, and don't be afraid to ask. Or I don't know. I
I
don't know
don't know,
what.
but if you tie this back to the first story,
Mm-hmm.
did you have to ask for humanity and for
Right.
compassion and for support and to be seen? He wasn't seen either. They just said,
I
yeah, keep
know.
going. And I don't know those people, and I'm sorry if I'm judging you. And if you hear this, I apologize if you feel judged. Um, but I'm curious, what was the dynamic there? Who was the leader? Who was the influencer? Who was the
Mm-hmm.
coach? Who was the observer in that space? And who had the feeling, and I feel terrible for whoever this person is. There's always a person in that group that said, gosh, I knew something bad was gonna happen. And then it happened and now I feel guilty. And that's also an awful place to be.
It is an awful, awful
So
place to be.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think, we're not here to offer solutions, hence conversations with Delpha and Naomi. But I think there's some provocative things that we have to think about here. And one is, are you being truly yourself consistently?
Mhm.
Are you not being seen where you're at? And is that the place where you want to be if you're not seen? And are you showing up for yourself?
Yeah.
And then for the rest of us, oh my gosh, open your eyes and look up from the table and pay attention to the humans around you, because
Hmm.
we are meant to be in community. And so whether it's virtual, like Naomi and I are far away from each other, we are friends and we stay in touch and we make it
Hmm.
purposeful. Um, so just look up from your desk and know your
Hmm.
tribe and find your people and really connect. And if that's not happening where you're at, maybe it needs to be somewhere else. And that's for everything. It's not just for work. That's for your
Yeah.
life and what you're thinking about. Do you have any
Yeah.
closing thoughts, Naomi?
Yeah. And if you are thinking, but I don't have that, and I don't have a community, and there's no one, I'm going to tell you, you are absolutely, absolutely, absolutely wrong. Like, because I have thought that before, like, you know, no, there's always a community, but sometimes you gotta do a little searching. That's all. They're always out there. And the assumptions that we make about people don't have time or this or that, I'm telling you, those assumptions are probably 90% wrong. They are not correct. So there are people, and you just have to open yourself up. I had to open myself up and realize there are people that want to know, like, that I didn't show up for work and everything was okay. That was a
Yeah,
pivotal moment for me because I honestly probably thought, if I don't show up or people don't hear from me, like, nobody will get in touch. I was wrong. Like, you're wrong too, if that's what you think. So
agreed. Stop
just
being
know that.
disconnected. Just stop being
Yeah.
disconnected. We have so much technology that connects us, and we're
Yeah.
as disconnected as ever. So just stop. Start connecting with people. So
Right. Just look up. Just look up, like you said. I mean, one last little teeny tiny anecdote. I was at the grocery store last month and I was going to write a whole blog about this. Of course, I didn't do it, Delpha, you know that. But I was wandering around and I did have my phone out because I was looking at my grocery list and something made me look up and I realized nobody was looking up. Nobody. I did a little experiment. I walked around the grocery store for maybe 5 minutes. Nobody made eye contact with me, which I think is a little unusual. Nobody made eye contact with me. And I wanted to scream, look up, people, look up. And I was like, oh, but that's me most of the time too. So I said to myself, look up. And that was it. And then I went home. It was like, yeah,
Yeah.
it was like, look up.
Yeah.
And
Just look up.
I'm not saying like I don't do it. It was like I was saying it to myself, look up.
Oh my
So maybe
goodness.
that's how I want to end, just to look up.
All right. So with that, it's super real,
Um,
authentic. It is just a conversation with Delpha and Naomi. And maybe
Not
there'll be more of
scripted.
these. Yeah, unscripted. And there'll probably be more of these because we always talk about recording our conversations because they go like this. And so if you're interested, give us a follow. If not, that's fine too. But share with a friend that might be. All right. So
Yeah,
thank you very
yeah.
much, everybody. See you later.
Thank you. Bye.